Welcome, everybody. It is the Paul Rodriguez Show coming live. It is, what is today? This is the 6th of September. It is Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Producer James in the building. Our co-host joining us now, Mr. Wes Washington via DFW area. I'm not going to give away his exact location. How you feeling, sir?
Feeling good, man. Feeling great. Had a good weekend. Got to see some friends. Got to see a little soccer. It's high school girls soccer, man. It's no joke. Those girls go at it.
Yeah, they're. I hear they're pretty aggressive. Producer James is in the building as well. How you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Energized.
Yeah.
Wes, you can't see James right now, but I don't know, man. He's looking pretty svelte out here. I don't know what he's doing outside of the studio, but I don't know. I don't know if his lady got him on a new program or something, but just saying, I don't know. He's getting fit, getting tight out here. So it's that Texas sun is what it is.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, we just got this like blue northern that blew into Central Texas. Are y'all getting any kind of like crazy weather out there in DFW area?
It hadn't been too bad. No rain. It's just been basically just hot and humid. Man.
Yeah, we went from like the mid 90s to like 70 in like an hour.
Man.
Yeah, with rain and cold. I was like, is this the first taste of fall for us here in Texas? Because that's what it felt like.
I'm ready for that. I can't take no more heat, man.
So you're about that hoodie weather. You like you need the.
Oh yeah, I got my hoodie. I gotta wear my Wu-Tang Scully. You know, that type of
He said the Scully. He didn't say beanie, my boy. He said Scully. All right, I can vibe with it. Huge. I mean, Wes, did we have the best opening of college football in years to remember? Like, have you remembered was it the anticipation because of COVID last year, or was this just a really badass weekend to have college football? What was your take on it?
I really think it was about the COVID, finally getting those fans back out there. You saw it in the VOTech and just the hypeness of everybody just glad to be back to tailgating, glad to be back in the stadiums, but it's not a capacity thing, and everybody's just glad to be back and glad to be cheering.
Dude, that stadium, that VOTech Enter the Sandman was nuts. Like, I cranked my TV up to like 80. I was like, oh, like this felt like national championship kind of vibes, like Super Bowl kind of vibe. I was like, this isn't a joke. Like, people are back in the stands. I'm sure they got the juice. They're like ready to get out and do their thing. But that stadium was rocking that game. And I don't know, VOTech really kind of surprised me the kind of way they came out. But at the same time, like, North Carolina, a little bit of a letdown, right? Sam Howell supposed to be Heisman caliber quarterback. Mac Brown brought a 10th ranked overall team to Blacksburg. Virginia Tech just came out and handled their business at home. Did you get to see that game or get to see the highlights?
I got to see some of the highlights. But my thing is, a lot of these teams starting off with tough teams that first game. I think it's a almost bad form because they don't get that rhythm going. So that's why I figure a lot of teams like to start off with that cupcake, get that rhythm going, get that timing and all that kind of stuff, and then you go off and play a mediocre team. And then on that third team, you want to play somebody real. But
I don't know. For me, it's more of like, I think you want to start off with a tougher opponent. I mean, look at last night, what we had with Notre Dame and Florida State. We were talking a little bit in the messenger. We thought Florida State was going to, get ran the hell over. And then, we'll get back to that game more. But even Ohio State, they had their hands full with Minnesota, I think Friday night. And it's just like, that's a big divisional game for Minnesota and Ohio State. And then you have a independent team like Notre Dame and Florida State with the ACC like having to represent. Florida State getting beat. North Carolina getting beat against Virginia Tech. Clemson laying an egg against Georgia. We'll get into that game a little bit more. And then everything was like resting on Florida State, honoring Bobby Bowden, playing there in Tallahassee. Notre Dame coming out hot. And then, things get a little bit tougher for them. The defense for Florida State, I think the defense for Florida State was phenomenal in their efforts that they had last night against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And then you have Mackenzie Milton. His story kind of comes up. It's like, what Disney producers are writing this story right now in the back for ESPN? Because if Florida State pulls out the victory, I mean, this is fairy tale. This is like The Miracle. This is like Blindside. These kind of movies that come from football lore to come to the big screen. So that was kind of like how my interpretation of the week was going, but it was fantastic. It was fun. What game stood out to you that you got to really enjoy? Did you see Texas? What about Arkansas? How did your weekend go?
I got to see just bits and pieces of games here and there. Game that kind of stood out for me was definitely Tulane. I think that's almost a victory for Tulane. You go play Oklahoma, who a lot of people are talking about playing for a national championship, and you give them. I mean, they gave them everything they had. That was a close game, and Tulane.
Yeah, if that quarterback converts that 1 yard, he was 1 yard away. If he converts and they go put that in the end zone, we're talking about Ohio State probably out of the college football playoff because of that. Because of
Oklahoma.
I'm sorry, because of Oklahoma. If that type of loss to Tulane would have happened, I mean, Oklahoma is seriously. You kind of like, where do you put Rattler? Where do you put Spencer Rattler? Where do you put that team in the Big 12? Have they lost their luster, but they were able to sneak it out? The defense held up for Oklahoma, and, Tulane gets to really put an asterisk by that loss and say, yeah, we lost to the number 2 team in the nation, but if we have 1 yard that we convert, it's a totally different game, like in the end. Another game that kind of, for me, that really stood out was Texas. I watched Texas play against Louisiana. Hudson Card looked a little shaky early, but then got his feet underneath him. Bijan Robinson, man, this dude is another level. I kind of asked myself, like, why did he want to go to Texas? Why did he want to go play for the Longhorns? Now that Sarkisian's there, it's like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. But Robinson was recruited by Herman, and Texas was not on the way where they wanted to go when Herman was in his second year at Texas. And so you kind of have to weigh that in one aspect. But Jordan Whittington looked really good at Aquero. Hudson Card late, I think, really took off and found his feet. But I'm excited. This is a young team. They're a young offense. I think there's like 3 freshmen on the offensive line. Hudson Card is considered a redshirt freshman. Robinson, I think, is a sophomore. I'm sure Jordan Whittington is probably, if he's not a redshirt sophomore, he's a redshirt junior. This is a young team that for in 2 or 3 years could be formidable under Sarkisian's pro-style offense. But in 2 or 3 years, they could be in the SEC also. And it really doesn't matter once you get to the SEC, because week in and week out, unless you're playing Kentucky, Vanderbilt, or I can only really say those 2 teams, you're going to have a fight on your hands. And if you're going to be in the SEC West, you're walking into Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama in that division within the SEC. So it's kind of hit or miss. What is your take on the Longhorns? Is this still like they're not going to be back until they win a Big 12 championship, or do they have to do more in order to be back in the legacy of sports or college franchises as they are? Because they're no longer college football teams, in my opinion. They're franchises.
Well, we know what they got to take care of first. They got to take care of this coming up next week.
Oh,
so they got to win that game. They almost have to blow them out, and then they got to take care of Oklahoma. They got to beat Oklahoma. That's a big thing. Beating Oklahoma. If you don't beat Oklahoma, is it really a good season?
No, it never is. It's a better season when, even a couple of years ago when they beat Oklahoma in the regular season, but then lost to them in the Big 12 championship, it was like, yeah, you beat Oklahoma, but you didn't win the Big 12 title. So it's almost as if the Big 12 title doesn't consist of Texas and Oklahoma, and you beat Oklahoma in the regular season, yeah, it's a win. But if you have to beat Oklahoma twice and you lose in the Big 12 championship, it's like a lost season. But yeah, you're right. As far as this old school Southwest Conference matchup between the Texas Longhorns and the Arkansas Razorbacks, what's your view of this game? You don't have to give your prediction or anything, but how are these two teams going to match up? Why do you say they have to blow out Arkansas? Don't you think that Arkansas is going to make this a little bit more competitive game than it would be otherwise?
Yeah, Arkansas is going to play hard. That's what Arkansas does, but Texas has the more talent by far. I mean, you can't compare the two teams, the two rosters.
Yeah.
Texas got all the talent. Arkansas, they're getting better, but are they ready to beat Texas? I hope so. I'm going to be cheering loud and, cheering on the Hogs to win, but do they have a real shot? They shouldn't. But, I mean, that's why they play the game. To win the game.
What did you think about their 38? This is the Razorbacks. What did you think about their 38-17 victory over Rice? Do you think that was like Rice right now isn't what they can be? Because there's some times when they get a couple of classes and they get the right coach, they're pretty formidable. But 38-17, they were on the road. It's not that far from Arkansas to Houston, but to me, that doesn't bode well. But the other half of the coin is Texas is only favored by 6.5 points going into Fayetteville.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives Arkansas room. Like Texas didn't look great against Louisiana, but the Razorbacks are an SEC team who have SEC caliber players.
I mean, I think the Razorbacks definitely have a shot, because they're at home.
Yep.
It's a rivalry game. You got to be pumped to play Texas. Anytime you get a chance to play the Longhorns, everybody's got to be pumped about that. I think it's really the thing about playing Rice. They could have lost that game. I mean, it was close, and to pull it out, maybe it's just knocking that rust off. Like I said, a lot of these teams, you don't have a preseason game or anything like that, so you're just playing each other in practice. So, they're probably knocking that rust off and finally got it off, and they're, the roster just kind of took over in the fourth quarter to pull out the win.
I'm going to tell you a number. We're going to get into a little bit of the sports betting. The over-under for this game is 57 points. You think that's about right?
What's that, around, 24, 27, something like that? Or?
Yeah, 24 to 26 points per team.
Like that. I can see it like that. I can see it being a struggle defensively, starting off and then getting some late touchdowns in the game once teams get tired and once both coaches make adjustments in the halftime thing. I can see it probably. I see it at 10 to because that's about 13 at half.
It's about 4 touchdowns a team.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're expecting 8 touchdowns. With the field goal probably mixed in there with both teams, that would put it at the over. But do you think that's too much for Arkansas to match up against Texas defense? I think Texas can get there. But the question is can Arkansas throw up a 30-point game or a 28-point game against Texas? I think it's plausible, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if they can do it.
I mean, you don't see the old school defenses where they just come out there and just shut you down. I mean, with the
Texas did it against the 24th best team in the nation this past weekend.
But yeah, I mean, don't get me started on preseason rankings.
But it's still the rankings.
Don't get me started on preseason rankings. How are you ranking a team that you haven't seen play? You're going off of what they did last year, but that doesn't mean anything.
And what they're bringing back.
That doesn't mean anything. I don't think they should have any I don't think they should have rankings until probably about 2 or 3 games into conference play.
So when the college football playoff gives out their rankings, that's what we should really be focused on.
Yeah, I hate preseason rankings.
Well, I'm gonna go with the preseason rankings because it's a talking point.
Every year, Notre Dame. Oh,
yeah,
Notre Dame's ranked so high every year.
But here's the thing: we saw that's you have an argument to stand on. Here's key points: Oklahoma, Ohio State, with North Carolina, Notre Dame, those teams. I mean, there were even other upsets where teams were unranked. Like we had Montana beat. Who did Montana beat?
Washington.
Yeah, Washington. And Washington was a ranked team at the time. So it's like, why would you go pay $675,000 to a team to come in and have them beat you? Well, I mean, we saw what happened to Appalachian State and Michigan, 2 decades ago. So it definitely happens out there. But for me, it's like, it's a talking point. It's something for us to kind of bring up and measure so we can kind of get a litmus of where this team is at. Like, do I think Texas is the 21st best team in the nation? No, but they also shouldn't be ranked in the top 10 because they're Texas. At the same time, it's like, why was North Carolina put at 10 when they looked like they shouldn't even be ranked? And so you have a point, but I like that there's something out there for us to kind of like lean on and say, hey, well, we think this team is this ranked because of what they're bringing back and what they did previously. Does it make a whole lot of sense? No, not really. That's my bad, guys. I apologize for that inconvenience. Listen, West, I was barbecuing some meat today, and I had these alarms set, and I set too many alarms, man. It just was, food didn't come out good. I was a little embarrassed. So we're going to have to do a thumbs down. Oh, here we go.
What happened?
What do you mean what happened?
Your food didn't come out good?
The fire, I just mismanaged the fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mismanaged the fire. Hey, man, that's why we call it practice.
Too hot?
Dude, okay. So I tried to do indirect within the barrel, and I couldn't keep my fire hot enough. And so I was like, okay, screw this. So I have a smoker box that's attached to it. So I threw in like half a bag of coals to get the fire going. Well, then I had about 4 chunks of hardwood mesquite. And so I let the coals get hot, and then I threw the chunks in there, and I shut the smoker box, and I shut the barrel. I left it. I walked away, and in about 20 minutes, something said, go look at it. So I go look at it, and I have a thermostat that's on the barrel, and it was 700 degrees. And so like I opened it, and I like let it, burp out all the hot air. And so then I was like, well, I got to figure this out. So I bought a thermopen, and so I temped the meat, and it was like 150. I was like, okay, it's not crazy. It got a good crust on it, but whenever I like finished it and let it finish cooking, wrapped it, it just didn't come out the right way.
What were you cooking?
Like a chuck roast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Poor man's brisket.
Nice.
So it just didn't come out the way. And I even did the Texas cheat. I wrapped it, re-seasoned it, put some beer in there, let it go off for another 2 hours. And then I temped it again, and it was like 205. And I was like, okay, it should be good. It should be at least edible. But when I went to go let it rest, I let it rest an hour, and it was just like all the juice was just not reabsorbing back into the meat. So it was just like, is it edible with some barbecue sauce? Yeah, for sure. But it's like, I'm not going to serve it to anybody.
Yeah. Well, of course, I mean, you take that next time you go out there. And
my biggest thing was don't use the indirect within the barrel. Just use the smoker box. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. So I have like a little, is it like, they call it an offset smoker?
Yeah,
like
it's an offset smoker.
Yeah. So I hardly ever use that unless I'm like making ribs and I'm smoking them for like 4 hours or so. Mm-hmm. So I hardly ever use that. I just put like the coal underneath the grill, and then I just set the meat off to the side. That's what I do. That's what I'd like. My heat, I couldn't hold 250. So I was like, well, I got to make sure I hold 250. Yeah. So I ended up holding 700. You barbecue, Wes?
Oh no, I don't get into all that. I mean,
I get down in the kitchen.
Definitely, I make my tacos. I'm a taco making dude. I love all kinds of tacos. Breakfast tacos are probably my favorite, but I don't get into all the grilling and smoking and all. I leave that to the professionals.
Nice.
Yeah, see, I should leave it to the professionals over here. Hey, what's your do you make like salsas or chiles or anything for your breakfast tacos?
I usually make my own salsa if I have time, but a lot of times it's just store bought, and I just put my own little seasonings and things to it. But I usually just your basic breakfast tacos. Do a little bean and cheese on the side. They do my eggs and my hash browns, bacon, sausage, and then we'll pickle the guy with some cheese.
Dang, Wes, you pretty much Mexican, bro. Pico de gallo.
I love me some breakfast tacos, man.
Hey, man, I like breakfast tacos too. Hey, you think? Have you been to San Antonio to get breakfast tacos, Wes?
I try not to get anything in San Antonio.
Oh God, Charles Barkley over here.
2.0. I try not to get anything. Well, let me tell you something, sir. You're missing out. There was a debate between Austin breakfast tacos and San Antonio breakfast tacos. So that's why I was asking you if you had ever gotten any breakfast tacos. I don't get anything from San Antonio. Okay, I'm gonna send you some pan dulce, some Mexican sweetbread. And you're going to be like, I'm going to go to San Antonio to get this. Because I'm telling you, It ain't, unless you go to Mexico, it ain't like that. I ain't never found no pan dulce that good in my life.
All right. So, I'll check it out. I'm always down to eat. I love to eat.
We got to go to break. We already off the rails in the first segment. James, get us out of here. Welcome back, everybody. It is the Paul Rodriguez Show coming out of Studio 44. Wes, I wanted to get into this just because we kind of saw this happen a lot this past weekend where I think we got to change the rules. These targeting rules that are getting players like disqualified for, I think, playing fast. I think a lot of times we get lost in the player safety, and we're having pretty much games and outcomes being altered because the rule is being enforced the way it is written, and I understand that, and I understand it's for player safety. But a lot of times in these judgment calls, we need to have a penalty, but I don't know if we really need to have the player ejected or disqualified. Now, we want to reduce and mitigate brain trauma, but at the same time, it's like this player, like if you remove this one player from their defense or from their special teams, it's going to totally change the outcome of the game because they're the player who's probably going to be making most of the stops. And when they get taken out because they're making a play in the game, it really kind of reduces, I think, the level of competition for both sides. And I saw it happen in the game last night. I think it was Saturday night. The game was Saturday night, and then it happened earlier in one of the in the smaller regional games. And I just keep coming back to myself, like, we need to change how we're kind of officiating the game, because in my interpretation, like when I was playing ball, we kind of wanted to lead with our head, not the crown of our head, but we're literally hitting you from like the forehead down. Yeah, and we wanted to make sure like we inflicted enough pain so that they would stop doing whatever they were doing. Today's game is a little different. It's more PC. We got to make it family friendly. We need to reduce the overall CTE trauma because there was a $1 billion settlement paid out by the NFL, which they don't want to do again. And everybody wants to say, oh, it's for player safety. And it's like, really, if this was for player safety, then why are we letting players play in a pandemic? Do you really care about them? Do the advertisers really care about them? Or do you want to not have $1 billion settlement that you had to pay out? And that's what I wanted to get your interpretation. Like, these calls that are so objective in the moment that they have to go back for replay. Do we need to change the rules? Do we need to have something to where if you have multiple targeting calls in a game, then you would be disqualified? Or do we need to leave it the way it is to reduce or enhance player safety? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I definitely think they need to change the rule. Just taking these players out, especially, I mean, you're talking about guys that may never get to play football again. It might be their last game. So I think they need to look at the rule on ejecting them, maybe go to 2 hits. And also, it's too much replay in any sport. All this, it's making the game so much longer. I don't see why they have to look at it so many times. It's killing me. It's just making the game longer. But I think they definitely have to go and look at it because it only takes a millisecond for it to change to a legal hit to an illegal hit. Just the movement of somebody's head, just that quick, and it doesn't mean that kid was trying to hurt that person. It's a game of inches.
Right. So, it's also the target of the player, the ball carrier. If he's changing his level, if he's changing his angle, and the defender's already in their progression towards the tackle, it's like, what do you expect them to do? How is it the person who's making the tackle's fault when the target has been altered, mid-stride? And I think a lot of it is also, players, when they're going towards the sideline, they're just trying to get the player out. And they're doing it by any means necessary, where they're not cognitively thinking, I'm going to lower my chin and I'm going to duck my head and I want to hit them with the crown of my head. I don't think they're thinking about that. Now, on the other side, there are players who you can definitely see a receiver's coming down and a defender is going up, where they literally are tensing up their back and their neck to hit them with the crown of their head as that opponent's coming down. When it's that egregious and like overwhelmingly you can see that this is targeting and the malicious intent is there, yeah, maybe then we can have that automatic ejection. But there needs to be, I think, more like training on how to handle this rather than saying we're going to blanket the entire game and say, if you do this one action and we see it's targeting after the review, you're disqualified. It doesn't even make sense because it doesn't to me.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me because I think you're penalizing these kids way too much. I mean, I use kid just because they're young,
Right?
but I mean they are grown men. They're big dudes, and it's kind of hard to stop that momentum once it gets going. And I understand that they can really hurt people. They're big, strong dudes, but if it's not intent and not intentional, then I don't think they should be ejected. I mean, it's just it just happened in the Louisville game, and what happened? Their middle linebacker came up and he got ejected. And then what did Ole Miss do after that? Went straight down the field, went right down the middle, 3 plays, touchdown. So, and I also think the refs at the beginning of the season, they start to work on whatever the NCAA told them to watch out for, and they just start making that call ridiculously. I mean, how many times did you see ineligible man down the field
this weekend? A lot.
Exactly.
It's like kind of like we need everybody to be in unison as far as like how the whole landscape, the college football landscape, is going to interpret the rules. It's like, well, we're going to put you all on notice so that nobody is committing these penalties during the game, so that once we get towards the conference title games or conference games into the championship games, everybody will have an understanding what the expectation is. And it's like, why do we have to set the precedent when you can just let the players play? And if there's a penalty, then you can call it. It doesn't make sense where you have to like train everybody up on what's going to be the expectation for the season. It's almost like the officials are controlling the outcome. Now, they may not control the score, but you're going to limit another team from scoring more points or less points just based off the penalties you're administering.
So
James?
What's the what's the exact rule that the targeting or
for targeting, if a targeting is called on the field, they throw a penalty and they have to go to review to see if the action is in line with the way the rule is written. So like if you hit someone with the crown of your head, so it's basically above the forehead and you're hitting towards the neck or head area of an offensive player, then there's a 15-yard penalty and you're disqualified. That's the and that
you don't have to leave the field anymore. You can actually stay on the sidelines.
You used to have to leave the whole game, but now you can stay on the
you were
sidelines.
ejected.
Yeah, like you were ejected. They don't like to
so
use,
that's a difference from ejected and disqualified?
No, they're the same thing.
Oh, okay.
But the word disqualified is a lot nicer.
Yeah.
It's a lot less mean.
Do they still do the same?
Yeah. Well, that's baseball. They do this.
Oh, okay.
They're disqualified.
All right.
But before it was like, that's kind of like the baby step. Before it was they had to leave the field. Now it's they don't have to leave the field, but they have to be on the sideline. They can't play anymore. And it's like, well, if y'all are making this progress to like slowly let them back in the game, just do it already. Doesn't that make sense?
I mean, maybe they should. I think maybe a thing they could do is say they got to be done for that quarter or for that half, and let them come back in the second half. They do it again, then they're done for the game. But just especially when you can do it early in the game, and you're talking about maybe the conference game or the championship game, and that could be that guy's last football game,
right?
On a play that he wasn't intentionally trying to do it, and then his career's over like that.
In another instance, like if you commit the penalty in the second half of the game, you're disqualified in the following game for the first half. So it's like if you commit this penalty, it's like you should commit the penalty in the first half compared to the second half because you'll be penalized in the following game as well. And so it's like, well, what if this dude committed the penalty in the conference championship game and now he has to miss the first half of the college football playoff because their team made it? It doesn't seem fair. It's like, how is this even working? Unless, I mean, like the option you had put out there, like, okay, well, if you commit this penalty in the first half, then, or if you commit this penalty in the first quarter, you can't come back until the third. Well, if you commit this penalty in the second, then you can't come back until the fourth.
Yeah.
And maybe if you commit the penalty in the fourth, then you can't come back until the second quarter of the following game. I could see something like that. That sounds a little more fair.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it like one time in the first quarter on the first drive, it's like, well, your team's fucked for the whole game. And so for me, it's kind of like, we need to revisit this. College football needs to like look back into this, and maybe there needs to be, 2 penalties. Like if you do this twice, you're out. If you do it, if it becomes habitual, then they can maybe take further actions. But most times it's not habitual. It's just the way the angle is played. Like I remember the Penn State linebacker who was out in the third quarter of the game this past weekend. It's like, well, if Penn State doesn't hold on in that game, I mean, they could their season could be thrown off the whole year, but they were able to hold on and keep the W. So they were good. They were safe on that end. But it's those instances where one player, you're in a tight game, could throw off your whole team's trajectory for the season because one umpire or one side judge or one head linesman decide to say, we think you threw your head. We're going to throw a foul and we're going to look at it. And then it's like, oh, well, what your actions do meet the rules that are written in, the rule book. It's like, what else happened? What was going on with the play? What was going on with the offensive player? Was it on the sideline? Where was it at? There's more factors I think people need to take into consideration than just saying he ducked his head and hit the net or neck area of an opponent.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, it is 55 minutes after the hour. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, talk a little Cowboys, Buccaneers, Thursday night football, NFL kickoff. We'll be back. Welcome back, everybody. It is the Paul Rodriguez Show. This Thursday night, NFL kickoff, Thursday football. Oh, Dallas Cowboys taking on the Super Bowl defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Producer James, I know the Green Bay Packers are your team, but you're gonna have to understand we're gonna talk a little Cowboys right now. Y'all better not lose on Sunday. And Wes, what is your take? What is your feeling? Zach Martin's out. He got the vid. He got the Rona, and Dak hasn't played in the preseason. There hasn't been any kind of. I mean, CD was out the last preseason game with the vid. Ezekiel Elliott didn't play much. I don't even think he played any preseason games. Hard Knocks sucked this year. Have you watched any of it?
I only watched the first episode.
It was horrible.
I mean, they did feature the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, it was horrible. You can just pipe down right now. It was horrible the way they kind of put this whole. I wanted the drama. Like, I wanted Jerry get cut. I was like, we didn't even see anybody get cut. We had to hear the orator say DiNucci didn't make it or whoever didn't make it. Tomorrow, I think, is the last episode. But the Dallas Cowboys taking on Tampa Bay. I don't know how that offensive line, even being healthy, how do you stop Shaq Barrett, JPP, Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, the linebackers? Like, I don't know how Dallas is going to do it.
I mean, you gotta make some quick plays and get the ball out quickly. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do it either. But really, what I'm hoping for is for Dak to knock some of that rust off, for him to survive, for Zeke to survive, and get out of the game with no injuries, and just get a little rhythm going, and hopefully, we can improve from there. But as for winning the game, I don't really see it.
I don't either.
I mean,
what's your expectation? Just to knock off the rust, and then, I mean, what type of score are we going to look at that says Dallas is in a good spot? Does it have to be close? Did they have to score 21 points? Like, what is your level of expectation for them to have a successful outing?
I really see it. The way I see it is Tom Brady's going to probably come out. They're going to get up big, and then I see Dak finally knocking some of that rust off and throwing some late touchdowns, bringing it in within 7. And I see it. I'll go 38.
Dang, prognostication already.
38-31.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you're better than me, Wes. I did not think Dallas was going to be that close. Like, you're saying Dallas is going to cover the spread because the spread is 8 points. Tampa Bay's favored by 8 points. So you think it's going to be a 7-point that tight?
Well,
if Dallas is scoring 31 points against that defense, I'm gonna be like, well, y'all better get ready for the Cowboys.
That's the thing about it is, do you have shutdown defenses anymore? They're just trying to force turnovers. So are they going to come out there and really shut anybody down? I think they're just going to try to force turnovers. So if we don't turn the ball over, I think they'll be able to move the ball and get some late scores and make it look close.
So we're going to have 2019 all over again is what you're saying. Trash points, late in games, hurry up offense, the last 5 minutes of the game. That's what we're talking about? Yeah, that's a sad existence. Yeah. But, I mean, I could see them doing that against Tampa, but.
Until they get a defense, they can create turnovers. And until they get an offense that can run the ball, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen.
You don't think they can run the ball with this line?
With what line? With
a healthy Tyron Smith, with a healthy Connor Williams, a healthy Biotic, a healthy whoever the right guard's going to be because Martin's out, and a healthy La'el Collins.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. So, I mean, that's the thing about it. I haven't seen it. Still Martin's going to be out. So, I mean, if I could see a healthy line, I could see them out there playing, then I could tell you if they can run the ball. But I just haven't seen a healthy line since Dak and Zeke's rookie year.
Yeah, we really haven't seen, and also too, I think from this year, Zeke Elliott looks a lot more in shape compared to what he was like the last 2 years. He looks like he wants to be better. I wonder if the injury that Dak sustained kind of motivated him to get back into shape. Do you think we'll see? Can Zeke erase some of the, I guess, shortcomings of the offensive line with his ability, with his burst? Do you think if he can get back to his first or second year in the league, do you think he can erase some of those shortcomings?
I mean, the Zeke, the play they like to run for Zeke is that screen. So,
Right.
I mean, hopefully, that's going to be their bread and butter because Tampa Bay is going to bring it. So he's got to have that toughness. Can't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
that was Zeke's biggest problem, turning the ball over.
Especially last year.
Yes. So hopefully he holds on to the ball. He gets a couple of good runs, gets in an open field and looks good. And like I said, knock some of that rust off. They don't have to win this game against Tampa Bay. They need to win the East, beat the teams in the East, win the East, and, make the playoffs. And then after that, you build on that. Hopefully, they can rebuild that line.
I think a dark horse because of the difficulties the line had last year. I think a biggest dark horse that the Cowboys have is Tony Pollard. If Tony can be utilized between the 40 and the 40 to get the hard grind them out yards down and not let Zeke take all that punishment. If Tony can get those hard yards, which he's accustomed to doing, because last year he did it pretty well. It looked like Tony was a better back than Elliott last year just because of his burst. And I think if he can contribute that in the run game between the 40s, and then once we get to the opponent 40, let Zeke go start doing his thing, he'll be a lot fresher in the goal line. I think he'll be have more ability to use his speed and quickness so that he doesn't take that extra punishment that Tony would be absorbing. So maybe that's something they can kind of scheme into the playbook as well. But I think Dallas to have success also, they're going to need to have big plays. Like they're going to need big chunk plays against that defense. There's going to need to be some acrobatic catches done by CeeDee Lamb and Gallup. And I think with Amari's route running, I think he'll be able to get open over the middle. It's just how many times does, Tampa Bay going to get beat before they say, look, we're going to stop playing man, we're going to play zone and get coverage over the middle to stop Amari from getting these big chunk plays. That's going to be the chess game. How will it fare out? I don't know, but when you have number 12 on the other side of the ball, when last name is Brady, they're always going to be in the game no matter what, and you're really going to have to mess up. They're going to have to mess up with other players to turn the ball over for Dallas to have a chance. But could it be close? Yeah, but could it be a blowout also? I think that's possible also.
Yeah, they got to get some pressure on Tom Brady. You can't let Tom Brady
how?
Pick your part.
I
don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know who they're going to do it with. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you got to figure out a way. They got to send somebody. They got to, scheme it some kind of way. They can't just sit back there and let Tom Brady be Tom Brady.
I would love to see offense or defensive line games with DeMarcus Lawrence and with Micah Parsons rushing off the edge. Maybe you can create a gap in the middle where Parsons can come up and kind of get some more pressure on Brady. But that's the only way. Like what we've seen throughout history is Brady doesn't like people at his feet. And if we can get people around his feet, I'm not saying you got to get there, but if you get to his feet and get him uncomfortable, that's when his errant throws start going. Producer James?
We got some comments in here. Nas Cool on YouTube. He said Eagles will lead the NFL East. And he also said, what about Antonio?
Which Antonio? Antonio Brown?
I'm guessing.
Yeah, Antonio Brown, I think, is going to have a big year with him and Tom having that relationship. I don't know. Is Antonio still living with him in his mansion? Tampa's probably. You think Tom's got an Airbnb mansion in Tampa, or you think he bought property?
So somebody's taking the Eagles in the East.
Yeah. Who shout out.
Nas Cool on YouTube,
Nas
and
Cool,
he said yes, Antonio Brown.
Shout out Nas Cool.
Oh man, thank you, Nas Cool, for watching. But come on, man.
Hey, Jalen Hurts was balling last year, man. At the end of the season, until Doug Peterson decided to fire himself by putting in whoever that quarterback was at the end.
Nobody cared for the Eagles by then. Did they still win games, or did he just play pretty good? Was he winning games?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he was winning games, but listen, in fantasy, he is like the dark horse everybody doesn't want, but people are still taking. And I like Jalen Hurts, the player, but I don't think he has an offensive line in Philadelphia, and I don't know how many weapons besides Devontae Smith, and maybe there's another Alabama receiver out there. I'm slipping me, but besides him and Devontae Smith, it's like, okay, Slim Reaper's 160 pounds, maybe. Like, what if he gets hit by a grown-ass man over the middle, or what happens if one of these big corners tries to shut him down? Those are my concerns, especially with Devontae Smith. And, if Jalen Hurts is going to run for his life, you're not going to run very long in the NFC. In the NFC East, maybe, but not in the NFC. Anything else is on your mind? You're pondering, Wes?
Oh man, I just wanted to send a shout out to my friends. My boy Kovar was listening. I think Nas Cool, that might be my boy Neil.
Okay,
He's
word.
an Eagles fan. Now I just thought about that. He's an Eagles fan.
Yeah, he said he also mentioned Jalen Rieger. He's a wide
Rieger.
receiver.
Yeah, he played
out
Alabama.
of TCU.
Oh yeah, he played at TCU.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
TCU.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
They're just small body receivers.
My boy Omar Little, man. The Wire. He passed away today, man.
Oh man,
it was Michael K. Williams, I think his name. But yeah,
he was on The Wire.
That addiction. Yeah, the Omar Little, man.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, Omar's coming.
Man, don't make me relive those days. I was in junior high watching The Wire.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family, man. It sucks whenever people have to
Yeah, 54 years old, man.
Really, he was that young?
Yeah.
Yep.
Damn.
Well.
All right, producer James, you got anything? We'll talk about some Green Bay Packers. Thomas Dunn said, "Stop talking about Green Bay Packers." We got to tell Tom Dunn.
Who?
Tom Dunn.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, okay. All right, Mike Jones. Who Mike Jones? All right, who Tom Dunn?
Doesn't
I got
ring a
it.
bell. I mean, come on.
I'm not familiar.
We skip all these dissections, and we're just looking forward to the NFC Championship game, man. Come on, man.
Okay, Kirk Cousins.
Come on, man. You like that?
Okay, Kirk.
You like that?
Okay, Justin Fields. Okay, Khalil Mack. Just saying. That you're probably gonna win the NFC North. I get it. But y'all better hope y'all don't get like Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs, because remember, there's an expansion this year.
Okay.
Look at James. Hey man, James got that. He got that Aaron Rodgers confidence now. Now that Aaron's back, he's like, okay, we'll see. RELAX. I think Aaron does want to play. I really believe.
I think he just wants to get the season over so he can go somewhere else. I think he's just happy.
Wes, I'm going to tell you like this: if they go to another NFC Championship game or further, he's coming back.
You think if they go to another NFC Championship game and they don't win, he's coming back?
Yeah, I really do.
I think they might struggle this year. Let
me tell you the reason why. I think Aaron wants to come back for a couple of reasons. He has his own like personal reasons. Like, I really believe he wants to retire a Packer. I really believe that. But what kind of fuck you is it to Gutekunst if he's going to be there as long as Jordan Love's rookie contract? And then he leaves the year or retires the year Jordan Love's rookie contract ends. Wouldn't that be the biggest middle finger to the Packers organization? And in the meantime, you could probably, if you put two offensive pieces in that offense, they're going to go play for Super Bowls. I'm not saying they're going to win them. I'm just saying they could easily go play for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, that to me, that's the biggest, that's the level of pettiness I think Aaron's willing to exhibit. I'm going to stay here as long as Jordan Love's under contract, just so y'all don't get to play him. It has nothing to do with Jordan. It just has everything to do with the organization not letting him have to play because Aaron is just so superior.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just ready for Thursday. I'm gonna be at work for the first hour, but I'm gonna get home. I got a question.
Okay. Who's it for?
I mean,
remember, you're talking to two very logical Cowboy fans.
yeah. Well, it's not necessarily about like. I mean, you're watching your football this season primarily on. You have cable, right?
Yes.
Wes, what are you watching your football on?
You got that swanky DirecTV, I bet.
Hulu.
Hulu. That's what I'm leaning towards.
Okay.
Yeah. But Nas Cool again. He says, "Who do you think the sleeper team is this year?"
And we'll answer that question after we get with your question.
Okay, yeah, that was my question about where you watching primarily.
That's it.
Yeah, no, because I need help. Like, because I mean, there's Sling.
Uh-huh.
DirecTV just released like a new streaming thing, but I don't think it includes any kind of football. So I'm just lining up my thing before I go and make a purchase. I want to know which one's gonna benefit me the most. Which I was leaning towards Hulu already. Hulu Live TV.
Yeah, that probably or YouTube. Well, I would check the price between YouTube and Hulu to see what the price point is. But yeah, I mean that's going to be there also.
Yeah.
And Nas Cool's question was,
Yeah. Who do you think the sleeper team is this year?
Wes, who do you think the sleeper team is for the whole NFL? Or you can do conference by conference.
The whole NFL. I'm looking at possibly Arizona.
That came to my mind.
With with that defense and with the little was it Murray?
Yeah, Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. I was trying to what did he copyright? The Hail Murray.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he copyrighted that Hail Murray.
All right.
They changed that like 2 years ago.
Too bad he's only thrown like one.
They changed it to the Hell Rogers.
I'm sure anybody can listen. Before all y'all were Hail anything, it was Roger Staubach and Hail Mary. So
This guy.
ain't nobody can knock on the Cowboys. I'm just saying.
How long ago was that?
Long enough for them to win Super Bowls.
Okay.
More than Green Bay. See, now we get into dick measuring contests. Well, we've had so many world championships, but how many NFL titles you have?
Brush off those history books.
How many NFL titles you got? Y'all better be lucky that Vince Lombardi went to Green Bay instead of the
Here we
Giants,
go.
because he should have went to coach the Giants. They just didn't want to have an Italian coaching the Giants. That's facts. I'm gonna stay in the NFC West, and I'm picking the LA Rams. I don't know. Everybody's gonna say, "Oh, they're not a dark horse." When Goff was there, they were a dark horse. Matthew Stafford's there now. Matthew Stafford is a gunslinger. I know Cam Akers is out, but I like Stafford. I think Sonny Michel is gonna pop in some people's eyes because of Akers not being there. That's my dark horse for the Super Bowl contender for the NFC.
Yeah. Paul, I gotta
I
agree
think
with
a lot
you.
of people put him up there when they got Stafford. I think they saw Stafford as an upgrade from Goff, but I don't know, man. I haven't seen Goff as that big of an upgrade. I haven't seen enough of Stafford to know that he's that type of quarterback to lead a team to the Super Bowl.
That's because in Detroit doesn't want to put anybody around him that's worth a damn. He had Megatron for a little bit, but it's like, yeah, then Megatron retires like when he's 29. It's like, come on, bro. But shout out to Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and his phyto medical endeavors, the vitamins.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm real high on the Rams as well, and also the Cleveland Browns this year.
But Cleveland's kind of like everybody's expecting them to be successful.
Baker.
Hey man, it's not about Baker. It's about Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Jarvis Landry. That's who it's about. Baker just a facilitator.
Not if he turns it over. I don't know, man. I think Baker gonna Baker.
Ooh, okay.
What does that mean?
He's gonna be that Baker man. I don't know what that means either. He's saying turn it over apparently.
It's not like this. It's not like it's Johnny Manziel did over there or anything.
Hey, did you see Manziel at the A&M game?
I did not.
Dude, he's looking like he's looking for a check. He doesn't need the money, but that's what it looked like. He's like, y'all got any more of that NIL money laying around?
Yeah, not cool again. He said laundry. I guess he's talking about Jason Landry is washed out. That's why he put laundry.
Laundry washed out. Okay.
Shell E said the Elmore family is watching, and she also had a comment earlier on in the show when we were talking about tacos. She said Wes makes the best breakfast tacos. Signed his sister.
Shout out to my sister. That's my
Shout out
sister.
to Wes' sister. Yeah. All right, so you do get down in the breakfast taco game.
Yes. Oh yes. I learned it from my mom, and I just kind of took it to another level.
Okay. Damn, man, if you're putting pico de gallo on breakfast tacos, let me ask you this: what kind of tortillas are you using?
Oh, I like to get the HEB. They're not cooked yet, and so I like to heat those up on
the ones from the bakery.
Yeah, so they're basically they're raw. I like to do those, or sometimes I like to go to Cabana and get those fresh flour tortillas at Cabana.
See, that's how you know Wes is legit. He ain't messing with no, like, when I say store bought, I mean like store bought in the bread aisle with the pre-made. Wes ain't about that action. Wes wants, I need to make them at my house, or I'm gonna go get homemade flour tortillas for my. Hey, Wes, I can respect that. That's legit.
Oh, no.
Ain't
When
messing with no
you
foolishness.
go into the other tacos, you go to your carnitas and barbacoa. You got to go with the corn. You know.
De maíz, the tortillas de maíz. Yeah, bro, the corn tortillas. Wes, you practically family. You making me hungry now.
Get some carnitas. You got to have your lime. You got to have your a little cilantro with some diced white onions.
I was gonna say, if he says Savoya is onion in Spanish. If he would have said Savoya, I might have to turn this show off. I'm just saying.
Fucking drooling over
when
here,
I do
bro.
Taco Tuesdays, dude, I bring it.
Shoot, I'm like, man, I'm kind of hungry. I had some oatmeal earlier, but I'm like, this sounds way better.
Well, I did eat earlier, but I don't think it was dinner.
Niels came over for Taco Tuesdays. He knows about my Taco Tuesdays.
Man, we have to go to your house.
Yeah, he said he makes the best for dinner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. If you're and see, I'm a big bean and cheese kind of guy. Bean and cheese taco. And hey, have you ever heard of this restaurant? It's like a legit Taco Cabana. It's like, I'm not Taco Cabana. It's like if Taco Bell was like real food, like instead of just the garbage it is, it's called Taco Palenque. They're usually like in South Texas, but there's one in New Braunfels. And dude, they have this thing called a pirata. And it's basically beef fajita in a bean and cheese taco. And it's like, it's double wrapped tortilla. But these are like the border, Texas, Mexico border tortillas where you put up the tortilla and it's almost transparent.
Yeah.
It's almost transparent because it's got that much like fat in it, butter, manteca. And so what they do is they do bean and cheese, beef steak fajita, double wrapped, put that in a foil. You put some salsita on there. Oh my, bro, you need like 2 of those. After a night at the bar, 2 of those, you ride as rain. This turned into a food show real fast.
What kind of show am I on?
This turned into a food show real quick. No, man. Everybody, thank y'all very much for watching. Shout out to everybody, all the West's people tuning in to watch the show. We appreciate y'all watching. Thank y'all for your time. Wes, what do you want to leave the people before we come back tomorrow?
Oh, just enjoy the football, people. Get out there and I saw it in the Tech and Houston game. People out there fighting, man. Come on, man. It's a game. Y'all enjoy it. I know you want to root for your team, but you know everybody love everybody. Best want to send a shout out to my sister Lachelle, to Neil and Zach Kovar. Thanks for watching.
Most definitely, producer James.
Go check out Marvel's What If on Disney Plus.
You know, that had me intrigued. So we've been watching college football weekend, right? And Disney is like hammering What If. They're like, buy Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, and watch What If now. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of, it's getting to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the real reason I got Hulu?
No, what is that?
I got Hulu because I got to watch the Wu-Tang Saga.
Oh, is that season 2?
Starts September 8th. You know I'm a huge Wu-Tang fan.
Man, season one was nice. I really enjoyed that. Just to kind of, you get to see a different perspective of like how things progressed. So I'm looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, I'm like, I was a big fan of Straight Outta Compton. I was excited about that, but when they said they were coming out a Wu-Tang series, I was like, oh man, I get chills just watching it, because especially when they start talking about they were making when the RZA's coming up with these beats and how he was coming up with these sounds. And, oh man, I can talk Wu-Tang all day.
Hey James, are you a Wu-Tang fan?
I'm not like too well versed in it.
So James is like our resident like rock guy. So Wes, you got the hip hop, James got the rock, and I got the country music. So we pretty good trio of musical knowledge. But I bet Wes, you got a lot of country music background too, don't you? You could admit it on camera.
I'm not a huge country music fan.
I thought you were a closet country music fan.
No, man. I do some classic rock, but you know, I like my the Eagles. That's kind of country.
That is kind of country.
But not really into, especially this new country, man.
Yeah.
I don't know
when I'm talking about country, I'm talking about like the 80s, the 70s, the six. Like I like more outlaw country from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like your Johnny Cashes, you know, Waylon Jennings, you know, those kind of guys.
Yeah.
But
I like hanging out. I would hang out with those dudes because you know they smoking. So
it's all about the vitamins. Yeah. It's all about the vitamins.
I'm very well versed in Johnny Cash.
Okay, Johnny Cash. Well, I mean, Elvis Presley too. That's like he kind of crossed over to rock and country and blues, and that's a whole nother topic.
I listen to Public Enemy, so I can't listen to Elvis.
Oh, okay. All right. Like Elvis didn't make the song In the Ghetto, right? He didn't make that song. I mean, come on.
Michael on
Chuck D
YouTube.
is not a Elvis Presley fan, man.
I know. I respect Chuck D and his opinions because he's my elder, but I don't mean I gotta agree with it. Producer James.
J. Michael on YouTube. He says, "Tighten up."
Tighten up.
Tighten like TITAN. Tighten up.
All right, Vrabel.
Oh,
all right,
that's
Vrabel.
my brother-in-law. That's my brother-in-law.
Is that right?
He's a Titans fan. Yeah, he's a Titans. He's an old school Oilers fan, so he moved to the Titans.
So that's what I was gonna ask. Was he an original Oiler fan?
Oh yeah. I
bet he hates talking about that last time they played Buffalo in the 90s. What a debacle. Sorry about that. It still stings for me because I remember watching it.
We thought it was going to be an all-Texas Super Bowl.
Yes, it was. It was supposed to be. Hey, my man is Warren Moon. Like, I love me some Warren Moon.
Oh.
That's a bad. He got the short end of the stick for years. Finally got his due in Houston.
Imagine Warren Moon playing right now.
Dude, yes.
That's he would put up right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he said yes, hate it.
I know. I know. Damn, I know. Anything else?
No.
Hey, thank y'all very much for those watching and putting it in the chat. We really appreciate that. Helps the show tremendously. If y'all are enjoying this, shout it to your friends, share it to your friends. Wes will be here every Monday and Tuesday. We'd love to have him more, but I know he has responsibilities he's taking care of. Maybe down the line when things change, maybe we can get him full time, make it worth his while, if you know what I'm saying. All right, guys, I appreciate everything. We're gonna take a break. What's up? You got anything before we go, Wes? Hey, thank y'all very much, guys.
I hear that. I love to be here more.
Orale. Adios. We'll see you tomorrow.